who do you direct your frustrations towards? Your producers, who are probably working day jobs, but they want to sell you some beats because that's how they run their business. And so when you frame this as producers get paid and engineers get paid, you're painting us to be the villains.
Like I've had to negotiate some producer deals for recently signed artists. I had this one wild situation.
There was this one take that I read that it's not a take that I agree with, but let me grab this for you. I'll show you. I'll share my screen. And Brandman Sean, actually a friend of the show, shared this or didn't share it. He commented on it. And here's his reply. So I want your initial reaction to this. Producers, this is an artist named, I want to say Femi J.
I think it's Femi J.
Flower Boy Femi is the moniker. Number one, his music is dope. Number two, his music actually streams well. He has a few songs that are pushing the million stream territory on one platform alone. Now, obviously, we know, because we've covered it, that a million streams doesn't really pay you shit or mean shit in 2024. But I don't want to take anything away from him as an artist. This is just a take that a lot of artists will espouse on social media when there are frustrations. So he says, producers usually get an upfront beat for the use of their beat. Engineer gets an upfront fee for mixing and mastering. Studio engineer gets an upfront fee for artists using the studio. Videographer gets upfront fee for recording and edit. PR gets upfront fee for marketing. Artist has to pay for all of this and hope it gets enough streams to buy a Kit Kat.
Whew, there's a lot said there. I think that artists, and I want to be careful when I say this, because as someone who has previously worked as a manager, spent literally the last 13 years as a manager, and no longer manages, artists are like toddlers because they love to center themselves as the victim, but take credit as the victor, right? So if I start a business, it's incumbent upon me to invest in the business, to invest in the skill set to run the business, and then to pay the people who are helping me facilitate the business, all before the business is profitable. That is how the world works. But because artists have a gift, their assumption is that the gift should be supported and surrounded prior to evidence that the gift will produce a reward for the people who want to support and surround it. And I think that is such a fallacy. Do you want, you know what I'm saying? It doesn't make sense to me. And it's frustrating because this narrative keeps running, right? Everybody's like, I got to do this. You don't have to. You can produce the beat yourself. You can learn how to mix and master, but you're not mad at the technology company for selling you the microphone. You're not mad at the plugin. You notice they don't list out all the stuff that it requires for them to get creative. They only list out the people that they don't want to pay. Do you know what I'm saying? So for me, I have a problem with that because it puts the onus on us, the purveyors of a skill set that you find to be desirable, instead of on you as the business owner. You would not pay me as a publicist if you didn't think I could get you somewhere or that your art matched the skill set that I had. Do you know what I'm saying? And he didn't even include a manager in that. You say the artist doesn't get anything, the manager gets less. You got pennies. I'm inhaling your smoke. Do you know what I'm saying? And I'm sticking by you for an indefinite amount of time till you finally start making money. And then when you do, you ask me what I do. And then you ask why I'm getting this check every month, even though I've been here for years, not making any money, believing in you. Do you know what I'm saying? So you should pay the people up front because now it puts an urgency on you because now it's a legitimate business. Now you have to make it profitable and you have to work. So for me, he said a lot, but I'm not going to side with him on this side. I feel like That's what it takes. You don't get mad at the car company that you're in debt for the next 4 years because you needed to drive around. But that car enables you to go to work. It enables you to go see your friends. Do you know what I'm saying? You're in debt to
Yeah.
a car company for 4 years. It's only when you get the narrative that I should be on top and I shouldn't have to suffer, quote unquote, under the weight of the burden that I decided to carry, then you position yourself as a victim versus I'm making an investment in what I believe in. And when it doesn't make sense, it's on me. I have to pivot. I have to make it make sense versus
Yeah.
saying, oh, well, the publicist, all this, and that. So I'm not about it.
I would take that a step further and say it's not just that they're painting themselves out to be the victim, they're painting other creatives out to be the villains. And more on this. That's really my main problem, because we can debate the minutia all day, but to me it's more just ignoring common sense because a person is frustrated, which is fine. I get that. It's like the factory, every business owner, as you said, takes on all the risks and rewards associated with their business. So if you run a factory, that's a terrible analogy because factories are super exploitative. But the workers, oh, why do I have to pay all these workers? They're the ones creating your product, and you're selling it and making 99% more than them at the end of the day, if it's successful. If the factory shuts down, everybody loses. You can apply that to every single business where there are expenses, where there are employees. I can't think of a business where there aren't expenses or employees. So with a rapper, and I brought this up, I replied like, yeah, but look, if as a rapper, you suddenly get successful, you're getting influencer deals, you're selling merchandise, you get signed to a label, the producers, the engineers, the videographers get nothing from that. And he replied and he was like, I love when people put words in my mouth. And I'm like, all right, dude, I understand that you have plausible deniability here because you aren't saying that producers and engineers and videographers don't deserve their money. You aren't saying that. You aren't saying that we're taking from rappers simply by charging for our services that we've developed and invested in. You aren't saying that either, but you're implying all of that. And you can't tell me you're not. This is my issue with this whole thing, the way it's framed. This conversation is always framed because at this point, it's a proximity thing. If you're an artist and you're buying beats, you're in close proximity to that purchase that you made from the producer. It's probably going to be $24.99, but that to you is a lot at that point. A studio engineer, it might be $50 for the whole damn mix. That's incredibly reasonable, but that's fresh in your mind. The videographer, they might charge you $400 for the whole music video. That's incredibly, incredibly affordable and reasonable. And that's what's on your mind. You're not close to Daniel Ek. You're not close to the labels or the lobbyists who go to Congress to ensure that your royalty rates are stagnant. When Daniel Ek makes a statement, hey, yeah, we're not paying you for 1,000 streams, you're not there by Daniel Ek. He's a billionaire. So who do you direct your frustrations towards? Your producers, who are probably working day jobs, but they want to sell you some beats because that's how they run their business. And so when you frame this as producers get paid and engineers get paid, you're painting us to be the villains when we're all doing the same thing. I could paint rappers out to be the villains. I could make a very similar post where I say, rappers, plays show, doesn't give producer shit. Rappers, shoots a music video, doesn't include the producer in the video. Rappers, drops the song on all platforms, doesn't compete. But you know what? I'm not going to do that because we're part of the same ecosystem. And I understand that that's your right. I'm responsible for my business. I'm going to handle my shit. You're going to handle yours. And as long as you're not stealing from me, we're all good. I'm not saying these narratives resonate with people, and then they turn around and look at a beat maker who is from the same place as them, living the same way, as some sort of exploitative factory tycoon. They look at him like the monopoly man just because he's getting $24.99 up front for the beat. That's a choice that you made. That's raw material. I don't know how else to say this. It's just that the way it's framed always, like you said, it paints the artist out to be the person getting used up until the point at which they start succeeding. And then, unfortunately, the majority of them will say, all right, well, I earned this. I did this all on my own. Everyone was trying to drag me down. They dropped their producer, because there are a lot of loyal producers that are working with artists for free every day. If you haven't found one, I'm sorry, that's on you. But a lot of times those loyal producers, once the artist signs, get left behind because now the artist has access to the turbos, to the T minuses, to all these amazing producers that they've wanted to work with. And then instead of just saying, all right, yeah, I want to work with T minus, so I'm going to get a track from him, but I'm going to also work with the person that got me here and develop my sound. They say, fuck all that. I did this on my own. I'm going to do me.
Or they'll be like, hey, bro, yeah, because you're saying $24.99. I know people, paying $200 or $300, but then when they blow up, same thing. They're like, they'll pay T minus literally 20, 30 racks out of their label budget. Homeboy, nah, bro, you've been making 400. You want 400 now? You want 1,000 now? And it's like, yeah, because I got you to the caliber. Like I've had to negotiate some producer deals for recently signed artists. I had this one wild situation. I had an artist that I was managing. I was fresh into managing him. Didn't even know I was managing him, right? I was his tour manager. And then suddenly he started CCing me on all the label situations. And then we're on tour and he asked, why am I not in your bio? I'm like, oh, so I manage you now? And he was like, duh. That was the conversation. Okay. So same night, I get an email from an A&R and they're like, hey, he will not agree on the producers want this. And that's not, he's not going to give up that much of his budget for these producers. These producers had brought him all the way to this point. And even his first project, they had produced for him. But his second project, now his first project recouped the first night. He sold night one. So the label was like, oh my God. So his next project, it was like triple or quadruple the budget. So his producers doubled their price. That's it. Doubled their price, same amount of points, everything. So the label was like, hey, he doesn't want to give up this much, which is the artist's right, whatever. And they were asking me, they're like, hey, can you lean on the producers? And I go back to the artist. I said, I'm not going to do that. I said, I can negotiate you a deal, but you have to come up. And so what I ended up doing was I got them almost double, but I made him give an extra point. Because I'm like, I'm not the type of manager who's going to negotiate on your behalf to be an asshole or to leave the people behind that helped build you there. Do you know what I'm saying? And so when we got to the night, he was like, I guess it was going to cost him like $1,000 more out of his budget. Do you know what I'm saying? And it was like, it was an indie budget. So I think the whole project was like $35,000. So like indie, not independent, but like indie label budget, second project that had done $35,000 is a good deal to me. So yes, it's $1,000 extra dollars, which is a significant percentage, but not to honor the people who have been riding with you, not to take care of people to where they don't feel like they don't have any job security or any loyalty. And that's what I hate. It's like this industry, there's no job security for producers, managers, none of that. It's all a loyalty business. You're asking us to give our services and our skills, our time, our heart for the chance that you may do us right. It's more likely that you won't do us right than do us right. You know what I'm saying? I'll talk about it, but I just got axed out of the blue. I have no idea why. So it's like, there's nothing here for us to sink our teeth into. So to me, the audacity of saying something like, to insinuate again, somebody else who's an artist, to me, the artist to producer thing is the worst. There's somebody who honed their craft, who invested time, who care about this, their heart has to sing too. And like you said, the artist gets to be on stage, they get the applause, they get all of that. The producer only got the fee if they got that. I was just on a major rapper's Spotify the other day because I found this song that dropped like 4 years ago, like right after he got off his labels, an independent song. I'm like, who produced this? No, it's not listed. You don't even care to give the person credit. Do you know what I'm saying? So I hate the mentality because like you said, it kills our ecosystem because if we function as a collaborative, more people eat. But if you function as an independent person who's not getting theirs or who's being taken advantage of, you're going through swinging at everybody, assuming everybody's trying to take advantage of you when it's really like everybody just wants to eat. All the food is on your plate. You having to distribute it to the other people sitting at the table isn't being taken advantage of. That's what you should do. You should want everybody to eat so that everybody can outlast.
And I'm absolutely not saying that Femi is not a solid guy, that he doesn't do right by his producers. I have no idea. I'm just going to assume that he does operate within a strong moral code. My issue is the way this is framed. His frustrations exist in opposition to producers and engineers and videographers' success. How many famous videographers and engineers and producers are there compared to recording artists? That would be an incredibly skewed ratio. Producers, yeah, we sell beats because that's how we make a living. We didn't set the Spotify rates; those hurt us too. We didn't invent capitalism; we drown in capitalism too. We didn't create any of these systems that you're actually frustrated with. We didn't create any of these systems that are actually hurting you. When you sign a label deal, you can complain that the label is only giving you 16% royalties. We're getting 3 points. You know what I mean? So it's like when a person is frustrated at their job, but they can't walk up to their boss and punch him in the mouth. What do? They come home and cuss their kids out because it's about proximity. It's about who you're around. And I'm not saying it's just a rapper thing. Producers do this shit too. Producers do it to each other. Producers who go online, like I said, I would never make a post like this implying that rappers are the villains, because they're not. We're all just creatives doing the same thing in the same ecosystem. But some do. And I think it's just nasty, ugly business to pit yourself or to frame your frustrations in a way that pits you against your fellow creatives, because it's none of us are the ones doing the damage to each other. So I wish this narrative would go away. I really do. Because the average person, you just don't hear about it. You don't hear about, like, the average rapper that contacts me to buy beats. We're not having these conversations.
Right.
We're having great conversations. We're thanking each other. We're being appreciative. We're working together. It's not contentious. It's not a fight. It's not hero versus villain or victim versus aggressor. It's just people making music. It's the loud minority, hopefully minority, that, well, whatever, they're loud.
It's a specific artist. I feel like, and this is a whole conversation I don't want to get into, but I feel like it's right when artists are receiving enough fame and like publicly, they're way more visible and they're getting opportunities, but their pockets aren't aligning as much with the opportunities, right? So then that's when, to me, that's the first like base level of angst is when you start your career and you're active but not making any money. Like, people are calling you, your city shouting you out, you're getting local radio, whatever, but you have no money. That's the base level of the angst. Then you finally year after year after year, you start making it. You may even quit your job. You're making a living. Then when the notoriety comes, you have celebrities following you. You have high level managers reaching out. You have labels kind of playing the little, oh, I see what you're doing bullshit that they do. That's when you start to see these tweets. That's when everybody starts looking around and being like, well, what do you do? What do you do? Why am I paying you for this? Because it's like, I get it. There's a little bit of paranoia because you feel like you're about to go to the next level. But I, it is a loud minority, but I feel like it's like all artists when they can kind of get themselves past the base level and they're finally making a living. It feels like all artists start shouting like this and questioning everything. They just may not have the same channels. It's like once you pass that, to me, typically the 100K threshold, which most people will hear this and be like, if I could make 100K, I wouldn't complain. But when you hit 100K, you're probably spending like 25 to 30 on taxes, and you're spending another 20 on your team. So then when you go look back, you're like, damn, I made 6 figures, but I just barely was able to pay my rent and buy my mom a really nice gift for Christmas. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's right around that 100K, 150K mark. I typically see artists. And then when they hit like the 500K mark, they're like, I don't need anybody. I did this all on my own. And then, 2 years later, they're like, hey, I'll take a label deal.
Yeah, and for this particular artist, I just want to add additional context. He posted, labels say it can take 250,000 to break an artist, so that's his frame of reference, which is another can of worms. And if Dame were here, he'd be blowing his top because, and I agree with him. Number one, that $250,000. And the way he phrases it, labels say it can. Well, it can take $2 million. It can take $2. It can take $2.99 if you just sign up for Two Lost and you let the 3-month free subscription run out, and then you pay $2.99. At odds is the code, twolost.com. Ted Park and I signed a healthy 5-figure deal for a single that we dropped on Spotify. We didn't spend shit on this song. And this was one of those situations where we're working together, we're collaborating. How I met Ted was he paid me to host his mixtape when he was a high schooler. So it wasn't even like a money grab situation because I trusted the guy already to do right. So when it came down to this label sending this check, we split it 50-50. That's the kind of business that I do. But with this label deal, it came out of nowhere. It was literally us making the track, putting it on actually, it was supposed to be an intro for his album. The album never even came out. We never did an album. He just decided one day, you know what? I like this song. I'm just going to drop it. Got playlisted, didn't pay for it. People ran up the numbers because they liked it. Next thing you know, we get contacted by Capitol Records. What 250,000? I guess I've seen too much in this music business to ever be the slave to one of these absolutist narratives. And unfortunately a lot, but fuck all that. What I want to really go back to is what you said, Erinn, because every time I've had a situation, don't do that. My cat is getting too close to the power button. He can turn off a computer. Every time I've been in a group situation and we've found success and we've found upward momentum and we're going up, that's when everything crashes. Because people, I was in a group, we were going up, suddenly people are looking at me funny because I just got a platinum record off some entirely different shit. I've been doing this on my own, making beats since 1998. This is 2008, 10 years later. And they're like, well, why aren't we getting any of this? And it's like, because this has nothing to do with us. I went off on my own to make this happen. So that crashed and burned. Another group I was in, signed that Drake Sprite campaign deal, get some money. We're getting featured on the Sprite website. It's a big marketing campaign. Yeah, I'm going to just do drugs. Cool. That disappears. Another guy, I'm managing him, producing for him, everything. He's getting booked at festivals because we're negotiating the deals. We're getting him these big events. He's at 1 million out of nowhere on YouTube. One day he's just like, man, you guys don't do shit. I'm out. Every single time.
When I tell you I've lived through those exact 3 scenarios, like
Yep.
it's by the book. I literally had the first big UK tour, everything. We come back overseas after killing it, and they were like, "Well, we just want you to do the money, and we just would like to smoke weed and enjoy our life." I was like, "Wait, you can still smoke weed. Just show up to the yeah." It's art,
and that's the dumbest thing. Can I just? You're talking about a group of grown ass adults sitting around collectively coming up with that consensus to express to their manager that all they want to do at their ages is smoke weed.
They said it a little bit more colorfully, but essentially it was, our time is best used getting into creative mindsets instead of focusing on pushing this forward. We don't want to deal with the business. We want to sit and be creative. Our most creative forms come when we're super high. So we would not like the pressure of the business. We just want to be high and make music. What are they doing now? They may be tuned into this podcast, so I'm going to be nice, but I'm just saying I'm the only one still They're both adjacent to the music industry. I'll say that. And this is not a shot. This is so like when it happens, like I've managed so many people. So when it happens at this point, when I got asked, I'm like, okay, nothing surprises me anymore, because it's like I've gotten so many people to the breaking point, and they always ask me, what do you do? Or I need you to do more. No, because I'm not the issue. And I used to take it in. I used to be like, oh, I didn't show them. I got approved. So then I would take that into every new management relationship. I'm like running, sprinting, outworking the artist just to prove I'm worth my 15 to 20%. Now I don't care. I don't have shit to prove to you. Okay, cool. I'm done. Great. Thank you. I'm grateful for the time here. Good luck to you. I hope the world treats you well. I hope you're successful. I don't have any ill will towards any of these people, but yeah, I've lived through so many of those situations.
Yeah, I mean, I think the conclusion is just stop fucking people over, because if you're working with someone and you're succeeding via their contributions and the synergy that you have with them, when you drop them, not only do you lose that as an asset, but you have to recognize that their talents and their value is inherently theirs. They can take that elsewhere. You can't get that back. So if you can't be fair and moral with them, chances are you're going to lose a major part of the magic that you had when it came to making your music, when it came to building your brand, when it came to, and oftentimes, in the case of people who are going beyond the music, like the two of us always have with the artists we worked with, you're going to lose a ton of momentum. You're going to be in the dark. I mean,
and you may not momentarily. That's
right.
the thing that just, especially when you have a lot going on around you, the assumption is that I brought all of this allotness here. I'm the value here. Everybody else is just dead weight. I can ascend faster. And it's like, I think that's the misconception, because a lot of people will hear us and be like, I would never screw anybody over. Payne, if you just gave me beats, and Erinn, if you just managed me, I'd break bread. I hear people tell me that all the time. The truth is, when you get in the position, I won't say you don't know what you'll do, because you may know yourself. I'm not that type of person. I've never been that type of person. But I'm in a service position. When you have so many people in allegiance to you, because that's what happens. Everybody is working for you to do well. Everybody's working so you don't get pissed off. So people may tiptoe, you don't even know it, because everybody wants you to be in a good mindset and keep it moving. So the world is catering to you. You don't know what that does to a person's mindset. So you say it now, but I've seen too many dope humans who are like, I'd never do that. And it comes up. So yeah, it's a hard place to be.
Yeah. And that's producers to managers, artists to booking agents, producers to loop makers, rappers to engineers, singers to songwriters. again, we've seen it all, but I think a lot of people won't be convinced until they experience it themselves. And then by that point, it might be a career ending mistake. It really might. A lot of people don't recover from this. Matter of fact, I think out of all the examples that I've spoken on, one or two people have gone on to continue with their careers, and at a level that, in my opinion, is much low. At least in one case,
They're
at a level that's
usually still in the same place or just marginally above.
yeah.
It's just it kind of does like this. And people they'll be like, yeah, 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 I'm living my dream. But it's like, man, you gave up your dream to be right in that moment or to feel validated in that moment. You really gave up the magnitude of what that dream could be. You own the pie. Congratulations. I own a pie factory.
There you go. Appreciate you tuning in once again. Free premium distribution for 3 months. Tolost.com. Use the code @odds, ATODDS. And if you decide to leave. Your music stays up there on all the platforms. They don't remove it. So appreciate you tuning in. Next week we'll have Dame with us. I know Dame had something to talk about, but I forget what the topic was, so I can't tease it out. So you'll just have to check it out for yourself. Thank you. Peace.